this interview. I'm Bailey, and this is my neighbor, and he's 80 years old, and he lived during the Great Depression. We're going to start off talking about your family. What did your family do for work during the Depression?
During the Depression, my father was a mailman for a while. Oddly enough, along that line, when the weather was really bad, everyone drove. The people that had cars had mostly A models. And during the wintertime, he delivered mail on horseback,
Oh, wow.
getting across the creeks and rivers and so forth that he had to ford. And so he was a mailman part of the time. He did other things too. He drove a school bus. But I think for the most part, he was a farmer. Everyone had gardens, and all the ladies canned food in the summertime. And so I think he was a farmer for the most part.
Okay. Did your mom do anything?
My mom was a mom.
She stayed home?
And again, along that line, very few women worked.
Mm-hmm.
The clerks in the few stores that we had were, if they were ladies, they were elderly ladies. And most women stayed home.
Okay. How many siblings did you have?
I had 4 siblings. I lost one sister when she was an infant, but I had 2 younger sisters and a younger brother.
Oh, okay. How many?
No.
No. Okay.
There again, everyone had their own house.
Okay.
In fact, I don't know anyone that had a mortgage.
Wow.
So
That's interesting. Okay. Okay. Did you go to school?
I went to school.
Where'd you go?
I went to, well, this was a little town in pretty much northeastern Tennessee, about 40 miles northwest of Knoxville. And the town's name was Oneida in Scott County, Tennessee.
Okay. Did you enjoy going to school?
Well, not really.
No.
I enjoyed school for the most part because of football and sports and the girls. That's what I enjoyed most about school.
All right. What about money? Did you do anything for yourself to get any extra cash?
From time to time. I've mowed yards a few times.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot of money when I was small. There wasn't a lot of money. I know one of the yards that I would mow, they would let the grass grow to about 2 feet. And then I would go over, and they had a push mower, an iron 10-ton push mower that I would mow the grass with. Took all day to mow a small lawn, actually. And I got $1 for it.
That's good. What'd you use with that little extra cash?
That little extra cash, I'd go to the movies,
Okay.
buy candy, that sort of thing.
Now, would you say the Depression was as hard as the media made it?
Well, yeah, that's hard to say. Where I grew up in Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
actually, no one had anything.
Yeah.
No one had anything. Everyone was in the same boat. We, as I said before, we had vegetable gardens. The ladies canned food.
Mm-hmm.
We picked berries in the spring. They would dig holes and put potatoes in the holes, so we would have potatoes for the wintertime. But everyone was the same, with a couple of exceptions. When I was in high school, I only knew one person that had a car.
Really?
All the kids, we walked everywhere. We walked. There was no public transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Very few families had a car. So, you walked. You walked everywhere.
All right.
I read one time about...
Now, you mentioned having a garden and that sort of thing. Did you ever go hungry?
Never.
Never?
In that small town, I don't ever remember seeing a soup line. There weren't any soup lines. Everyone, I think pretty much everyone had whatever it was they needed because to repeat myself, they canned in the summertime. And we hardly ever went to the store. Hardly ever. And so no, we never went hungry.
Okay.
And if worse come to worse, we could always go out and shoot a rabbit, quail. And that's another thing us kids did. We hunted.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, the hunger was never an issue.
Okay. Okay, said sometimes that movies provided an escape. Did you ever go to the movies?
Yes, I went to, frequently. I would say even adults probably went to the movies. We had one theater, and even the adults went at least once a week.
Okay.
On Saturdays, we'd go to the movie, and in those days, you'd have during World War II, you would have a newsreel with current. Well, it wasn't current, but it was a newsreel regarding the war we were having, and there would be previews. The little guys always look forward to seeing the previews. A cartoon, followed by a cartoon. There was a serial, a continuing serial every week, and there would be a cowboy western type movie as well as some sort of a detective movie. So if you go to the movies, the price when I was small was around 10 cents
Really?
to go in, and you would be there for 4 hours. And sometimes those little guys would go in there and stay, and the parents have to come get them, you know, because they'd watch the whole thing. They'd stay in there as long as they could. We didn't have TV, see, so we only had radio.
Okay. What else did you do for fun?
Well, we did what everyone else did. Us kids hunted, we played, we did hikes in the woods, and we did what kids do. Only we weren't inside the house hardly, unless it was really, really freezing cold. We were always outside. We were always out after dark, no street lights or anything. Catch lightning bugs in the summertime.
Okay.
Yeah, we did what all the rest did. Nothing special. We were just ordinary kids doing what ordinary kids did in those days.
Okay. I just have one more question
Sure.
to ask you. Back in the day, several people said that they wouldn't let ice cubes sit in the sink and melt, and they saved a lot. Did you ever save anything? Did anything about the Depression affect you?
We didn't have ice cubes. There was an ice house there maybe if they're making homemade ice cream, they would go buy ice and then crank the old crank to make the homemade ice cream. But there was no ice. We didn't have a refrigerator. We didn't have running water there for a while. Now we did later on. Depends on what year it was and that sort of thing. But back my early recollection is that we didn't have any of those conveniences. Most people had wells that they had dug for water, and some people even used springs. They used spring water that was coming out of the side of a hill or something. But there was no ice. In fact, I never went to a restaurant. As a kid that I can recall. We didn't have any fast food. No such thing as fast food. Everyone ate at home.
Yeah.
And so I can't think of anything else that we economized there where we could.
Right.
We had our own. Everyone had a cow for the milk and butter. I remember churning butter in a churn. You put the milk in and let it get warm, and you start to churn, and the butter fat, the butter would float to the top. And you skim that off. That's where you get your butter from.
So you used your resources.
Use the resources. Yeah, we're pretty. It's pretty antiquated. Compared to the day.
Okay. And did you ever have an opinion about Hoover, or did you ever hear your parents talking about Hoover?
Hoover was hated. Those guys back there really, really hated Hoover because they blamed him for the Depression. And they loved Franklin Roosevelt. My parents did. I was in a hotbed of Democrats there. They all thought Franklin Roosevelt was the greatest there was. And in fact, I only saw my father cry one time that I can recall, and that's when Roosevelt passed away.
Really?
My father was in tears over that. He thought the guy was the greatest person who ever came down the pike. That subsequently became a Republican.
Right.
So it's surprising coming out of a hotbed of Democrats that I did. For us, the Depression didn't change a lot.
Mhm.
That from my, as I recall, the Depression didn't change an awful lot because that's the way they lived before. And during the Depression, now during the war, there was rationing. There was rationing that affected a lot of people. I recall gas stamps on the windshields
Mhm.
of the old cars. Gas, I have no idea what gas was. Probably, 10, 15 cents. Wouldn't have been more than that a gallon. There wasn't a lot of cars. The sugar was rationed during the war.
Mhm.
The ladies could get sugar for canning purposes. They could get special allowances for that sort of thing. Because everybody can. All the families can food. The moonshiners were affected. There was a lot of guys back there in the hills that made moonshine, and that affected those moonshiners more than anyone else.
Yeah.
So, illegal whiskey. But the Depression for us didn't really start wrapping up until the mid-war to the end of the war. And when things started booming. Things started to boom there in about 1946.
Okay.
Full